Six must-read books on climate change and eco-activism. That's what we're talking about today. My name is Eugene, and this is Verdant Growth. You guys, before we get into this video, I just wanted to spend 1 minute talking about how beautiful I look. That is all thanks today to these lights. I have two wonderful new studio lights. If you guys saw my previous video where I just got really giddy right after I got my lights, then you probably already know, but I'm so happy to have these new studio lights. Okay, focus. Books, climate change, eco-activism. Let's go. These days, the concern over climate change is growing and growing, but there's a lot of science denial and a lot of misinformation out there. So, to combat that, you need to start reading up on climate change. There are a lot of books around climate change, what it is, how it affects the economy, how it affects society. But here are 6 books that I highly recommend, that I read and I really loved, and they changed my entire perspective about climate change. So without further ado, let's get into them. Number 1, This Changes Everything by Naomi Klein. This Changes Everything is an award-winning book by Naomi Klein that takes a look at climate change not through a scientific lens, but through a political and economic lens. As somebody with a science background, I tend to focus a little bit more on the scientific aspects of climate change. Where does the carbon come from? How does it get produced? And what kind of solutions can we implement to fix them? She makes the argument that climate change is not really a carbon problem, and that is instead a result of the way that we live our lives, the way that we set up our economy here in the United States. And that is with globalized, unregulated capitalism. Klein argues that this unregulated capitalism has led us into the problem of climate change that we have now. So, if we really want to tackle the base problem of climate change, we're first going to have to make some major changes to the rules of our economy. It's a great, well-written book that is filled with lots of great information, and for me it was personally just a really fun, interesting read. It might have been a little bit long at certain parts, but overall it was full of lots of really important information that I didn't know about. Number 2, 6 Degrees by Mark Linus. This book is a little bit of a dark look into climate change and the way climate change is going to impact our world. The author basically gathered a whole bunch of different studies of a whole bunch of different impacts of climate change, and he basically sorted them into different sets. So, in chapter 1, he talks about all the different things that happen to the world at 1 degree Celsius of warming. Chapter 2 is a look at all the things that happen at 2 degrees of warming. And so on and so forth, all the way up to 6 degrees of warming, at which things get pretty catastrophic. It's a dark look into the possible futures of climate change, but one that is pretty eye-opening to read, if it can be a little bit depressing at times. Number 3, The Future We Choose: Surviving the Climate Crisis. Whereas 6 Degrees was a book that kind of looks into the negative, catastrophic effects of climate change on our world, this book is a much more positive, optimistic look into a future with climate change. Instead of climate change being this awful thing that's going to have all these negative and catastrophic effects on our planet, it instead looks at all the challenges that come of climate change. Not only that, it presents all the different potential solutions that we have and the ways that we can make our lives better by taking on the challenges that climate change presents. This is the book you want to read if you want to be inspired into action. Its positive, optimistic outlook on climate change is one that just kind of makes you feel a little bit warm and fuzzier about climate change. So read it and get inspired into action. Number 4, Merchants of Doubt. Merchants of Doubt is a deep dive into the tactics that were used by industries like the tobacco industry and the oil industry to spread misinformation and doubt about science. How they utilized a very small group of scientists to spread a mass misinformation campaign to confuse the issues and to make everybody feel like, yeah, maybe tobacco isn't so bad, or maybe climate change isn't so bad. If you're in the fight against climate change, then knowing your opponent's strategies is half the battle, and that's exactly what this book is going to give you. Mostly because there's still a lot of this happening today. There's still a lot of fossil fuel industry people who are trying to sow doubt about the effects of climate change, or that it's even happening at all. So, on this planet that's becoming increasingly more hostile to all forms of life on it, it's really important that we learn how to fight against these fossil fuel industries that are trying to stop us from even realizing that anything is wrong. Number 5, clean disruption of energy and transportation. As an engineer and just an all-around lover of science, I love this book. This book is so good. Clean Disruption is a look into the near future of the energy industry, and how very soon the fossil fuel industry is just not going to be able to compete with renewable energy anymore, and basically how the entire fossil fuel industry is very soon going to be completely disrupted by the renewable energy industry. Why? Not just because the technology is cleaner or better for the environment, but just because it's going to be cheaper. Advancements in solar and wind technology mean that we can now produce electricity much cheaper than we were with fossil fuels. So no matter how much going into the future the fossil fuel industry are going to try to fight against renewable energy, they're gonna lose based purely on the fact that no one wants to pay more for electricity. This disruption will lead to the production of cheaper energy and a whole host of new technologies that we would have never imagined were possible before now. The entire electric car market is going to be a huge source of disruption for the energy industry in the future. Again, because electric cars are just going to be much cheaper to power on renewable energy than they are on gasoline. Not to mention, maintenance costs go down, reliability goes up, and it opens up a whole host of new technologies like self-driving. Clean Disruption is a fantastically written, well-reasoned, scientific perspective on the future of energy. I felt so good just reading this book and realizing that no matter how powerful the fossil fuel industry is, eventually we're just going to reach a point where they just won't be able to compete. Renewable, sustainable energy is here, and it's here to change the world, whether you like it or not. Number 6. Drawdown. Drawdown is the ultimate compilation of solutions to climate change. In this book, they worked with a huge team of scientists to compile a big list of solutions to climate change across several different industries, from electricity, food, agriculture, and land use, transportation, health and education, and carbon sinks or carbon storage. They ranked these solutions from highly effective to less effective. They also emphasized that no matter how effective the solution is, it's really important that we try to implement as many of them as we can. The goal of all those solutions being to eventually reach what he calls drawdown, or the point at which our carbon emissions peak and then start to decline. All of the solutions are solutions that are available to us right now. None of them are dependent on some future creation of a new technology. All that we need is the willpower to implement them. They also produce a report every year on any changes to the list or new solutions that have come out. It also describes the progress that we've made so far. So be sure to check those out at drawdown.org. Anyone who is interested in solutions to climate change must read this book. It has so many solutions that I never even knew existed. But just knowing about those solutions made a huge difference in how I feel about climate change. It made me realize that fighting climate change is not impossible. It made me feel like, yeah, maybe we can win against climate change. We have so many solutions at our disposal right now. We just need to build up the will and the political will to get them done. Read it. If you're interested in climate change solutions, it's a must read. There's no question about it. You must read Drawdown. And that's it, you guys. That's my list of recommended books on climate change. There are so many out there. So do you guys have some recommendations or books that you think I should read? Post them down in the comments below. I'm always looking for more books to read to learn about how I can have a more positive impact on the environment. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button down below. I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to set a goal to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Probably not gonna make it, but I'm trying really hard. I really appreciate every single one of you that watches my videos, shares my videos, and hits the subscribe button and like button every single time. Also, if you're interested in supporting me in other ways, be sure to check out the Echo Swap shop at echoswap.shop. It's an online store that I've created with the goal of eventually becoming profitable and donating every single one of those profits to a charity or to a foundation that is working hard to fight climate change. At the time of this video, you can pick up cool products like the Verdant Growth water bottle or the Verdant Growth bamboo toothbrush. If you still haven't replaced your plastic toothbrush with a bamboo one, well, here's a good place to start. Even if you're not interested in buying anything, just go to the link. I really appreciate everybody who even just visits my website. It helps my morale so much. Thank you guys so much for checking out the website, and thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Eugene and Verdant Growth, out. Finished! Okay. Oh man, I love these lights, but they kind of hurt your eyes after a while. Are my eyes all dilated? Do they look all dilated now? Having these bright lights on you for a while just kind of makes your eyes go weird. But come on. I look so much better with these, right? Come on. If you think that the old light was better, comment down the bottom. Just leave a comment. God, I hope that comment doesn't come in. I really don't want to see that comment come in. All right, that's it. I'm out. Peace. See you guys later.